Greetings, Pagan Perspective viewers. This is your Friday host, Fiakari, with the Celtic Reconstructionist perspective for your edification and amusement. I'm going to talk briefly about my understanding of Samhain and what it is. And if there's any time left, because I'm going to try to keep it short, but I have a bad habit of not doing that. If I have any time left, I'll tell you some of the things that I plan to do, which are not entirely traditional in any kind of tradition, but it's what I do. Samhain is indeed the Celtic New Year, and the reason it's the New Year is that in the Celtic calendar, there's really only two seasons. There's the light half of the year and the dark half. Winter and summer is basically the understanding. And the two holidays, holy days, that separate those two halves of the year are Beltane and Samhain. And so in the literature and the lore, you often see references to Beltane and Samhain all the time. All the great events in the lore tends to happen around Beltane or Samhain, and there's references to things like from Beltane to Samhain or from Samhain to Beltane. Samhain is an ancient Gaelic word that means summer's end. So it's the end of summer. So it's the end of the bright half of the year. Now, that being so, it's to kind of put yourself in the mind of an ancient Celt, an Iron Age Celt, that's entire life revolves around the harvesting seasons, because it's a very agrarian society, very agricultural based. The Samhain would be the last of the harvest season. So the harvest is done, the cold winter is coming in, there's not going to be any more food, there's not going to be more grain or anything to feed your animals. So you have to slaughter all of the excess animals that you have. You just leave the ones for breeding purposes. And that way the food use over the long winter is going to be minimized. So it's a time of massive slaughter. Or also significantly is this is the time where you all the calculations are made for the winter, and you know exactly how much food you have, how much food you need to feed so many people through what's going to be the coming year. So you can kind of have a good sense of whether or not you're going to survive. So it's very much a time of darkness is coming, death is big on your mind. Another important aspect of Celtic thought and spirituality is the idea of liminality, liminal space, liminal time, which means in between. So Samhain is an in-between time, and so Samhain itself is actually neither part of the bright part of the year or part of the dark part of the year. It's in between. So it's a time of no time. Time is stopped. And part of that is that to align the calendar between the lunar cycles and the solar cycles, they actually add in like 3 days. So that's 3 days that don't count towards any kind of calendar or any kind of, it's not a part of any month. This is Samhain, So this is a 3-day period of liminality, of no time. And in this liminal time, the space between, the veil can be pierced. The veil is at the thinnest. The veil between our side and the other side, life and death. So it's a time in which we can communicate with the spirits more freely. That has a lot of implications. One is that omens are taken, because taking omens is a part of communicating with the dead, with the ancestors. Honoring the ancestors is very important. honoring the spirits is very important. And a lot of the traditions that we associate with Halloween come from this ancient practice. The children dress up as spirits, and you honor the spirits that visit your house, because if you don't, it's bad luck, trick or treat. And you honor them by giving them gifts. You open your door wide to them, and you treat them as guests. You're a host. It's been simplified over the years, so here's some candy, kid. But the idea is, when you're greeting children at your door, you're welcoming in the spirits, the spirits of the ancestors, the spirits of the world, spirits of nature. So all of this is part of the ritual, part of, So that's it in a nutshell. And I may have a little bit of time, so I guess I'll go into it. I have a 7-year-old boy, so Halloween is a really fun time, and and so we get into the whole 9 yards. He's costumed, and we go trick or treating and get the candy and just have a blast. And so that's a very important part of the entire. And while we're doing that, every once in a while, of course, I'll put in a little bit tell them about, well, this is why we do this. This is why it's important, and tell them about Samhain, and this is. And we also honor our ancestors as part of honoring the ancestors. What we do as a family is we'll talk about our family tree, pull out our family trees, and say, well, that's great aunt so and so who did this, and tell stories that we remember. So we remember our families and pass on the stories of our families to our son. And we talk about the people who we know and knew and loved, who have passed. And we as a family will write letters and draw pictures and make other nice little offerings to them, to our families, our ancestors, our loved ones who've passed to the other side, and burn them, put them in the hearth fire, and so it's a very emotional time for us, but it's also, it's a celebration, and it's an acknowledgement of death and of change and of new beginnings. So it's tinged with sadness or with trepidation, but that's part of it. That's just part of life, and I think that's what's important about the entire cycle of the year, is understanding the cycles of life, the natural cycles of the world. Death is part of it, and it has to be honored and celebrated, just like any other part of life. So yeah, we have a great time. So we do have a good time. Oh, I almost forgot. Another big part of Samhain for us is we make a labyrinth. We draw a labyrinth on the ground for, and I'm not really sure why labyrinths are associated with Samhain. I don't know. Tell me if you know. I haven't really done the research on it. For some reason, it's associated with Samhain. It certainly is in our personal practice. And so we draw out the labyrinth, and so everyone in the group can use it for personal meditation. And so this year, my son is I'm gonna help him do it, and he's gonna do it. It's gonna be his project, so I'm sure he'll be thrilled by that. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. That's how I celebrate and what it means to me. And happy Samhain, everybody. Thank you.